morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we've got some very good news that makes me very happy, and some other news that should make me sad, but actually makes me a little bit happy, which then makes me a little bit sad, and kind of proves a point I've been trying to make for a while now. This will all make sense in a little bit. So, starting off then, let's have a little bit of a look at a new version of an old card. It is this year's Celebration Fanfare. This is the promo which is given out in Japan when you get a certain amount of points. It's not that rare. Now, don't get me wrong. Compared to most promos, of course, it is you've got to earn it. But what I mean is, I've been chatting to the lovely Antoine Boulet about this, and essentially, all you really need to do here is go to a few local tournaments, win a couple and you'll be fine, or place at a few and you will be fine. So, it's not an absolute gimme, but it's not as rare as I initially thought it was. Okay, cool. And you get this Celebration Fanfare, and it's awesome. Now, it's also worth pointing out that you kind of need to already have earned it. This is given out to people who have 30 or more championship points as of the 31st of August. So, okay, to be fair, you don't have to have already earned it, but you need to be pretty gosh darn close. If you're not already there, you need to get a move on. And it is very, very much this year's Celebration Fanfare. And here's what I love about this card, right? You have a look at it and you go, Teal Mask Ogapon. Oh, hang on a second. I mean, sure, that's from the DLC, and everyone loves it from the DLC. But actually, Teal Mask Ogapon EX is like a really good card right now, which is seeing a whole bunch of play with Raging Bolt. And you're like, oh, hang on a second. Yeah, that actually works really nicely. Like, it almost looks like they're trying to design this card to match the metagame. Bearing in mind the card will be made a while ago. They're not going to be perfect, but, you know, they're having a pretty good go. And then we got Golden Go on there. And I know Golden Go hasn't been the very best deck out there, but it's absolutely been a good, viable deck that's seen a bunch of play and success. So that's pretty cool. You've got yourself Roaring Moon there, and we can actually talk about either Roaring Moon EX or regular Roaring Moon, both of which have been good cards that have seen a bunch of play and a bunch of success. We could have a chat about Iron Hands, which I think by this point we all know Iron Hands is a nuts good card, which has seen a huge amount of play and will continue to see a huge amount of play going forward. And then you've got Pidgey on there, who of course evolves into Pidgeot, who has been an absolute staple in a bunch of decks, because you can search for any card in your deck. And then we got Chinchino, who's been Lugia's best friend lately. And you look at all this and you go, oh, every single card on here, other than Pikachu, and we know Pikachu doesn't count because Pikachu's got to be on there. Every single one other than Pikachu is like a legit playable deck. And I know it's not perfect, all right? Because again, they're having to pick the Pokemon and design these cards a long time in advance. But this cannot be a coincidence. They have clearly designed this in a way where they're going, hey, let's try and showcase a bunch of good cards. And I think they've done a rather spiffing job. I love this card. It's a bit of a pain to get hold of if you're not, you know, actively playing in Japan. But I do love these and they are awesome. Big fan. Might be worth having a chat about previous years. If we have a look at last year's, you might notice the art looks a little bit similar. It should. It's also done by Unishida. And what we've got here is a bunch of cards that were really good last year, like Squawkabilly and Klefki, Koraidon, Miraidon, Curlier, your Frigiback that evolves into Baxcalibur. Again, it's not perfect, but you can see where they're going. We can have a look back at 2022, where they honestly didn't do as good a job. Luminion, Arceus, Bidoof absolutely nailed it. Electrode and Zoroark maybe a bit less so, but you can understand why they would go for them. And then if we go back to 2021, you've got Urshifu, Centiskorch, Crobat, Flaffy, these are all... You can see where the card designers have gone here. They've really tried to make it representative of the metagame of that year. Frankly, done a pretty good job. I like this year's. Also, the fact that we've had the same artist 2 years in a row does make me a little bit interested here. But then again, Himeno did it 2021 and 2022. And then someone else took over. So maybe the artists get a 2-year run. We'll find out next year. I'm delighted to say Himeno is doing a signing, not of Pokemon cards, but just a general signing in Hawaii the 2 days before World starts. And I got myself a ticket to go along, and I am very, very excited about this. So that's the really good news. What about the news which is kind of bad, but then kind of good, and then I feel bad about myself? Well, we've got a new Ultra Pro collection of stuff. And once again, it is a lazy collection which features stock Kensugimori artwork on generic backgrounds. The problem is, it's the Porygon line. And I love the Porygon line. Actually, at the moment, it's just a playmat. It's just a playmat for now. But here's the thing. I have long said that this Ultra Pro stuff is basically terrible and I'm not a fan because it's just generic Kensugimori art. Well, it's Kensugimori stock artwork on a generic background. People on Twitter have taken my suggestion, you can make it in Photoshop in 5 minutes, very literally, and made ones on Photoshop in 5 minutes that look basically the same. But I've also said on a number of occasions that if you are a fan of the Pokemon that's being featured, you may well end up buying this anyway because you love the Pokemon. And I've been telling you guys that when one of my favourite Pokemon gets featured on one of these products, that is going to be the real test for me. Well, that happened. Porygon is my original favourite Pokemon back in Gen 1. My favourite Pokemon is still my second favourite Pokemon. And look, it's stock Kensugimori artwork of Porygon, Porygon 2 and Porygon-Z on a generic, vaguely computery looking background with some colourless energy symbols. And I tell you what, I like this. I kind of like this. I could see myself buying this playmat. The only saving grace is that I have a bazillion playmats. And I very much do not need another playmat. So that's at least one reason why I might not buy it. But I'm telling you, it's the kind of thing I've been trying to avoid. And we've looked at these rubbish ones in the past and I've just gone, they're rubbish, don't care. Whereas now, I look at these and I'm like, oh, I do love me some Porygon. Like I showed you the Tinkaton one a little while ago. A few weeks back, I told you it was terrible. It is, it's terrible. But I'm not a Tinkaton fan. So I look at that and I have absolutely no interest. A little while before that, I showed you the Koraidon and Miraidon playmat. Although I will say, as much as I think the Koraidon and Miraidon playmat is a little bit rubbish, they also made an 8-foot-long playmat. And I do think the 8-foot-long playmat's pretty cool. The Mimikyu and Pikachu one, I think is absolutely rubbish. And here's the thing, I look at all of these and I go, you know what? I really think the Porygon one is the best among them, but I'm not unbiased here. I love Porygon. And I think I might be taking my own pro-Porygon prejudice here when I'm saying that I think this might be a pretty cool thing that I might have to go and have a little bit of a look at picking up. Because I do like this. Apparently, for some reason I don't really understand, it is to celebrate Pokemon Day on the 27th of February. Which is obviously a long time away at this point. Oh, it's coming out for $23 on February the 27th. So we are actually a little while away from this at this point. It's not coming out for a little while. And I will say it is a stitched edge playmat, which I've used that phrase a lot on this channel in the past. But it actually makes a real difference. Compare that, to instance, for the Pikachu one, which I'm pretty sure wasn't, and the Tinkaton one. Neither of these look like they are stitched edge. Stitched edge makes a huge difference because as a massive TCG nerd that's used a lot of playmats in my nerdy TCG career, the stitched edge ones last a lot longer and they wear a lot nicer. So maybe it's the fact that it's stitched edge. Maybe it's me getting excited about Pokemon Day. Maybe it's me just loving Porygon. But I do look at this and I do quite like it, and I might pick this up, and I'm sorry. But that's the news, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this in the comment section. Tell me if you like the Celebration Fanfare. Tell me if you're going to be picking up the playmat. Go nuts, but be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel, like the lovely William Shaw, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.